What is going on, everybody? Today I'm joined by a horror legend, Betsy Baker. Betsy, how is your day so far?
My day is going well. My husband and I just returned from our annual tax man visit. So what can I say about that? It's done. Well, it's not quite done, but it's getting there.
It's the fun thing we all get to look
I'm
forward to
so
every year.
lucky I get to pay taxes. That's what I should be saying. Yes. Yes.
It's a fun experience.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to get into acting?
I always enjoyed it. Actually, I know a lot of people say, oh, from the time I was in elementary school or junior high or high school, but it's true. I loved it. It was a nice outlet for me. I enjoyed the theater. I enjoyed going to the theater. I enjoyed taking dance classes and piano classes and voice classes. And I just wanted to continue that. And so I did throughout college, and then actually immediately after college went into and did a professional singing job for quite a few months, and then realized that I had never really done anything behind a camera or in front of a camera. So because my studies were on live stage, or in classical voice, so I actually moved to the Detroit area. I knew that they were doing regional and local commercials. They did some films sometimes, but they also did a lot of, at the time that I was young, back in the last century, they were doing a lot of industrial films and training films. And I thought that was a perfect way for me to train and learn and just be on a set. And it was a great experience. Many great experiences for me.
So, what was the process like for you to get involved with Evil Dead?
I was living in Detroit. I had done a bunch of commercials by that time. I was doing auto shows and live narration nationwide. I had a theatrical agent in Detroit, and she called one day. She said, "This is a little bit different." I said, "Okay." We met with three young gentlemen today, and they're interested in meeting you and having an interview with you and talking with you about doing a movie they want to do. They didn't say horror movie. They didn't say low budget movie. They didn't say, chainsaw movie. They just would like to meet with you. And they would like to meet with you, if it's okay, at this particular restaurant, which I think was, I want to say Guido's, but I don't think it was Guido's. It was an Italian restaurant. I can't remember it. I used to know the name of it, which means basically they did not want to come into the agent's office and use their time and be charged for it, or use a room or whatever. They didn't want to pay for that. So would Betsy be willing to meet us at a Pasquale's? That was the name of it, on Woodward Avenue, for anybody who's listening from Detroit. And so I met them at this Italian restaurant. And at the time, I don't think Sam was it was barely 21. I'm not quite sure Bruce was 21. I think Rob was 23 or something, and I was 23 or 24. So we met in the afternoon on a Thursday afternoon in the fall at Pasquale's. And at that point then they said, well, we would like to have you read some scenes, after I met them and had a Pepsi Cola with them. And they said, would you like to come to my house? This is Sam talking. And we can meet on a Saturday and we can, we can read a few scenes with you. But the funny thing is, it wasn't his house. He was living with his parents still. And so I drove up to the house and, went to the back door, because I was still accustomed to going to a, back door where people lived. And, and his mother answered the door. Yes, Sam and the boys are downstairs. So I just went into the basement and we recorded a couple scenes, and they offered me the role that Saturday afternoon.
What's your thought going to the house and his mother answers and tells you that they're in the basement?
I thought I was pretty safe. I mean, at the time I was dating a guy when we went to Pasquale's, and I had never, ever gone to an audition or an interview outside of a, theatrical agency, or outside of Ford or General Motors or Buick or anything like that. So I thought, this is very weird. I'm going to a restaurant at 3 p.m. And I also, being a waitress for many years, I knew there's not a lot going on at 2 and 3 and 4 in the afternoon. So this will be interesting. So I told my boyfriend who drove me there, if I don't come out in about a half an hour, come looking for me. And that's the honest truth. He never had to come looking for me, but I was worried there for a second.
Yeah, that seems wild. So what was the filming process like?
It's horrible. We actually were supposed to work on this horror thriller in and around the Detroit or Michigan area. And they were so concerned that the winter was going, I guess they looked at the Farmer's Almanac and they were so concerned that the weather would be so bad in October and November and early December that they decided they should shoot somewhere else because they did not want a lot of snow. And a lot of snow was predicted. As it turned out, they found a place in Morristown, Tennessee, of the infamous cabin off a side road. And it was one of the coldest October, November, Decembers in the history of Tennessee. So the conditions were just as you saw them the first day of filming. It was a dirt road. It had no electricity. They had to bring electricity in. It had no bathrooms. It had no heat. It had, I don't even know if it had glass on the windows, honestly. And when we got there, all the crew, which was just about 7 people, and all the cast, which was Bruce Campbell and the 4 of us, we were asked to come to the cabin for 2 days and literally clean up the dirt inside the cabin, which meant shovels and brooms. And we were cleaning up cow and goat dung because they were walking through the cabin. It was part of their home in this little country, in this woods. So we cleaned out the cabin and we started shooting. I mean, prop and set guys came in, and which was like Sam's friends, and found a couch, a couple chairs, and a moose, and some antlers, and a chair and 4 tables and a cot they put up for the bed in which I'm resting when my leg is attacked by a demon. And that's where we shot. And it was just miserably cold. After the 3rd day of shooting, the first 2 were shooting outside in the woods during the day on the side of the road and by the bridge that the state of Tennessee told Sam and Rob they could use because because of its lack of safety, they were going to blow it up in the next few days. Which means great, they had this location, but also not great because they wanted us to drive. They wanted us to drive across it, and they wanted us to walk on it. And I said, "Wait a minute, guys, they're tearing this down in a few days because it's not safe." Oh, it'll be safe. It'll be fine. So it was that kind of, we did a lot of flying by the seat of our pants.
What was your reaction when it came out to it being popular and so forth?
Honestly, I was not there when it was first released. I was not at the premiere. And it came out with mixed reviews. It wasn't received well in Europe, and it was banned in a lot of countries. I was actually working at an auto show, and I couldn't come back for the premiere in Detroit, which would have been a lot of fun. But at the time, I just went, I can't miss doing the Portland, Oregon auto show, so I'm not going to be able to make it. And it had a very small movie theater presence. I didn't discover its popularity until many years later when I actually walked into one of the first video stores and saw it there.
That's cool. That has to be a cool experience to see your movie there. But what was it like, reuniting with Sam Raimi many years later on Oz the Great and Powerful? Because I'm pretty sure you didn't have to go audition in his basement for that one.
You are correct about that. It was actually lovely. We had seen Sam a few times, and we had seen Bruce a number of times. I had seen Rob a few times, and it was a lot of fun. Teresa Tilley, aka Sarah York in the movie, had been there for a couple of weeks doing some work, and then they asked Ellen Sandweiss and myself to come in. So it was just a blast. And it was then and it is now. It's just remarkable to watch Sam work. on a set. He's very respectful to the crew and the actors, a very humble, quiet guy, but to just watch him and observe how he works and what he wants from the actors or from the crew is still amazing to me. I would work tomorrow with him. It's such a delight. And we see him every once in a while. But at conventions and such. But yeah, he was great. It was great to kind of reunite.
What was it like coming back as Linda in Ash vs. Evil Dead?
On the television show?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I didn't actually come. You mean the one that they shot in New Zealand? I didn't actually work on that. I had heard rumors. I had been told that if it went to, I think, a season 3 or 4, they were thinking of bringing some more of us back. From the original film, only Ellen went back for a couple of days, but we did some voiceover and some dubbing for it. But yeah, it would have been great. It would have been great to do that, but we didn't do that.
Okay. Well, my daughter will get upset if I don't ask you. What was it like working on Grey's Anatomy?
It was a lot of fun. Actually, I knew the director well. They just live a few blocks from us. But I had to audition. I auditioned and read for the scene, and we worked for a few days on that big family accident scene. It was a huge fiasco, but it was a lot of fun working on Grey's Anatomy, and it's an icon of a show. So I was really fortunate to be a part of that crew and that set for even 5 days. And it's a system and it's a rhythm they have there and they have had, and I was just honored to be a part of it.
That's awesome. Do you have a favorite role outside of like Evil Dead?
I know a lot of people say, well, it's anything that I'm working on, which people laugh at, but it's actually true. I mean, I really enjoyed working on, not a lot of people saw it, but those that have saw it, I've enjoyed it. It's a show called Hand of God, which was on for a few seasons. And I played Dana Delaney's mother, which I have to say, we had to use a lot of makeup and a lot of special effects, but it was an incredible experience to play somebody really angry and upset and low key at the same time, and to play and work with such great people. Gosh, I've done a number of episodes on the Connors, which is a total different, the comedy essence. And that was a great experience. And it was a challenge. We shot all those episodes during the pandemic. So for all of the episodes I was in, there was no audience. We saw the seats and where the audience sits and everything reacts, but we had no audience. So when we would start after rehearsal, when we would start on the days that we were shooting, they would have actually all the extra crew and all the other actors come and stand and be like, laughing and reacting because they didn't have an audience to react. It was a live audience show, but we didn't have an audience. So for us, in order to kind of get some sense of the comedy or the timing, they would have the rest of the crew stand there and react and laugh or not laugh, whatever.
Something that show did so well, and just like the predecessor Roseanne, it did so well blending comedy with real world. Like, I love the Connors. I thought it was so good. What was that cast like to interact with?
Oh, they were lovely. The interesting thing about working with the cast is oftentimes you literally just work with them in that particular scene. We don't, so many of them, I mean, the leads and the main characters, they go off, they work on their lines, they have meetings, they do other things. I just worked on a film last week and I saw that one of the cast members was, she and I worked together like 9 years ago. And at first I thought, oh, this will be so fun to see her again. And we never saw each other because we weren't working on the same days. So we never connected. We never, I mean, if I see her, it would be at the, premiere or the first screening or whatever. So, I mean, they're fun to work with, and I always try and learn something from everybody that I work with,
Mm-hmm.
either crew or cast. I try and observe and learn something or go away with something that I didn't know before.
Betsy, one of my favorite shows ever is Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction. And there is episodes that were filmed in 2024 and 25, and I cannot find them anywhere. And you were in some of those. What was
Yeah.
that experience like? And do you have any insight of maybe where I can dig these
I
up?
think you'd have to try. I think you'd have to go to Germany, quite honestly. I cannot find them either, to tell you the truth. There's 2 episodes. There was a story that was told. Is it true or not? And apparently my story was true. There was just an old farmhouse in the country years ago, and she rented out rooms long before there was Airbnbs and stuff like that, and it didn't go well. Let's just say, for the guests that arrived. I cannot find it either. And actually, the casting director a year later said, I'd love to get you a copy of it in English, but we can only find it in German right now. And I don't even have the German copy, so I don't know where it is. But it was a great experience.
Yeah, I interviewed somebody else that was in that, and she said that initially Germany tried to do it themselves with like German actors and so forth because the show got really big there, but they didn't like that version. They wanted the American show, so they dubbed it all in German for the German audience.
I think I've heard that too. Yeah, because I do a lot of voiceover foreign dubbing as well, and I thought, oh, why don't you guys just do it? Why aren't you shooting it over there? I was talking to the director. He said they don't want it. They want American actors, and they want it dubbed. So, but I'd love to see it. So if you ever find it, let me know, please, because I'd love to see it as well.
Yeah,
and vice versa. I'll let you. I'll get in touch with you and let you know.
I'm on a mission. I will find it. What are you working on now?
I can't, I hate to say this, but because it sounds so oofy poofy, but I worked on a feature film that I really liked the script. It is a psychological horror thriller, and I'm meaning that there's not a lot of, today's when people say, oh, it's a horror movie, there just must be a lot of violence. There must be a lot of knives. There must be a lot of guns. There must be a lot of stabbings. There must be a lot of doors cutting off people's hands. I don't like that. I just have never, ever really cared for it. And you're going, well, why were you in Evil Dead? It's a very good question. But this one was a psychological horror. And I'm done with my shooting scenes. They're working a few more days, and I hope it will be a big success with them. And when I know more, I'll let you know.
Okay, that sounds fun. Do you have I'm trying to think of how to word this. Is there other parts of the movie industry that you kind of want to get into, maybe, that you've ever thought about?
Yeah. I mean, there was a time years ago that I thought being in production on the other side of the camera would be really interesting and challenging. And there was a time when before my children were born, and they're grown adults now. And when I was first married to my husband, we owned, one of the businesses my husband owned in the film industry was a motorhome business. And we worked on the production side. I owned them. I gutted them. I removed everything in them. And then I outfitted them with desk space and office space and hair and makeup space, and they would be like trailers, for productions. It seems pretty easy, but it was a lot of responsibility with, drivers and employees and, being on top of a mountain at 3 a.m. And I wasn't driving, but I had to be awake and make sure that my drivers arrived there and that everything was good to go, and everything was working. And, I do not have that company anymore, but I'm glad for the experience. I don't know. I do some voiceover dubbing, like I said. I'd love to get into anime dubbing, but that's a really hard, nut to crack. And I'm really intrigued with the verticals right now, and how popular they are. And but I also know that I'm well aware that because of my age and my looks right now, there's a limit as to what I can do. I know, and I'm well aware that I get called for the local librarian or the neighbor down the street or this single old lady that lives upstairs, whether she's bad or good, or the attorney is going to lose the next case. And those are great character roles. So, but I am intrigued with, and I say that because I know verticals are geared most often towards a very, very young audience, but you got to have old people in them sometimes. So it'd be nice to get into them.
The vertical movement is wild because we just interviewed somebody from one of them, and I caught a couple recently on my phone just flipping through Instagram, and they are, yeah, you're right, they're so popular.
So wild. It's such a interesting genre in which you're so teased and so you're so allured that yes, you'll buy more. You want more, you want more, you want more. And that's what an actor or a performer wants. Oh, you want to see more? That's great. I'll come back and do this play, or I'll come back and, hopefully do this movie or this show. And the verticals is and they pound them out very rapidly. They work very, very hard. So it'd be interesting.
Well, Betsy, thank you so much for your time. Where can everybody find you online? Do you have social media?
I do not have much social media, but I am on Facebook, Betsy Baker. And that's about it. I don't do any other social media. I suppose I should, huh? Maybe I should someday.
Maybe. It's exhausting. Social media is exhausting.
Yes.
I have to do it for the podcast, and it's like nonstop. There's always something. But again, thank you so much for your time, everybody. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and we'll chat soon.
You're very welcome.